Is it BG-R or is it just burger? Hi, Kenji here, and today we are going to be unboxing the Canon BG-R10, which is a battery grip. Now, is it BG-R10? I'm just going to start calling it the Burger 10 just because it's so much easier to call it the Burger 10 than anything else. So guess what? This is the Burger 10 by Canon, and we're going to be unboxing it right now. But before we jump into that, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out this channel a lot, and I'm really trying to help grow all my subscribers. So if you like my videos, definitely give it a like and subscribe. All right, so why do you want to get a why do you really want to get a Burger 10? Now, this is a battery grip for the Canon EOS R5 and R6. Now, something that I really like a lot is that this over here actually works for both cameras. Now, I currently only have the Canon R6. Next year, I am going to be picking up the EOS R5 camera, unless they come out with something better and it's within my price range. But the fact that this battery grip actually works on both the R5 and the R6, it made it a no-brainer for me to buy. Since I really plan to make the R5 my main camera once I get it, I didn't want to necessarily buy a battery grip that would only work on the R6 if it didn't work on the R5, because eventually the R5 is going to be my main rig. But when I saw that this actually works with both the R5 and the R6, I figured, you know what, I can get it now and it's not going to be a problem whenever I want to upgrade and start using the R5. So that was a very good choice on Canon's part for making it compatible with both of those cameras. Now, I'm not sure whether it works on the original EOS R or the RP. I don't think it does, but nonetheless, I'm not using either of those cameras. I'm using the EOS R6, and next year, probably the EOS R5, unless they come out with the newer 90 megapixel version of the R5. I'm not sure, but if that one's going to be like $4,500, I'm not going to bother with that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Very professional looking box. I definitely like that a lot. So I am going to start opening this up. I don't have an overhead cam today. So over here, gonna pull out the random piece of cardboard that keeps everything nice and safe. And let's see, got the instruction manual, it looks like, over here. Let me just open it up. I don't know if this is the quick start manual or if this is the full instruction manual, but it comes in like 50 languages, so I'm really only interested in English. But hey, if they have other languages, I'm sure that helps out other people in other countries, because Canon is global, so it's not just here in America. Where is the English one? Aha, it is the second one next to the Japanese one. So it starts out with Japanese, and then after that goes over to English. So hey, that works. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this up nicely, because I am going to put this back in the box, and I'm going to keep the box in case I want to sell this. It's always worth more with the box and all the instruction manuals and everything like that. Oh, something I forgot to mention. This guy over here retails for $349.99. So basically $350 for the Burger 10. And it's actually kind of on the steep side, but if you want to stick with the branded Canon battery grip, then you're just going to have to fork out the money for that. They do have a lot of third-party grips that are available. I have used them on my Nikons, and they worked pretty well, but they felt definitely very cheap to me. Now, at the same time, when I was using the Nikon D810 and the D800, the battery grips that went with them were probably about as expensive as this one right here. It's probably about $350. And I kind of always knew that with the D810 and the D800 that after a couple of years I was going to be upgrading to my next system that would probably last me for, I don't know, 7-10 years or something like that. So I didn't really feel like spending $350 on a battery grip from Nikon. And so I basically got one that costed literally about $35, so a tenth of the price. And it kind of felt a little bit like it was worth a tenth of the price. But hey, like it got the job done. I did have some issues with the mirror on my D800 kind of flipping up and getting stuck up in that upwards position. And I have no idea if that had to do with the battery grip, but it kind of worried me that if the connection wasn't quite solid between the battery grip and the camera, that maybe when I did the shutter release on it, it somehow lost connection in the middle of that, and then it confused the camera. So anyway, I'm not gonna say that it was definitely the battery grip because I have no idea whether it actually was. But at this point, I just thought, you know what, I should just stick with the first party grips, and then that way I'm probably not gonna run into the same problem. Also, my current camera, the R6, it doesn't have a mirror, so I guess that's not gonna be a problem ever. All right, next thing. Warranty card. Definitely want to keep this. This actually, this is just, I guess, explaining what the warranty system is. So I will keep that and put that back in the box as well. Another piece over here. What is this? This over here is the warranty card for, oh, this is the actual warranty card. So I'm gonna definitely register this and I'm on the Canon website, so that way I can have full support whenever I need it. Hopefully I never will. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this, which is the last thing in the box. All right, I'm gonna put this down here. I'm gonna put the instruction manuals back in the box. Okay, comes nicely packaged in bubble wrap, so it's nice and protected. Gonna keep the bubble wrap as well, just in case I ever need to, you know, send it back somewhere. And it comes also inside this plastic bag, which is not sealed or anything. So here we go. Put this over here. So here is the battery grip. This actually looks really, really good. And it feels nice and solid. I'm gonna go ahead and show you a nice close-up of this over here. So this actually seems like a nice solid grip. It has these little, sorry, I'm gonna try to center this so it'll grab focus. Now this over here is the battery grip, and it has a on-off over here, and it also, oops, has an on-off right over here, and it also has these little protectors on top over here to help protect all the various connections. So probably don't want to lose these in case you want to just put it into your bag, in case you don't want to have all the connections being completely open. And there's also another little protector cap right here as well, which goes in for the little charging. I don't know if that's a USB. Actually, no, I'm not sure what this little, I'm gonna try to do this right here. So this thing right here, I'm not really sure what that is, but I definitely see it inside the battery door of my camera, and I've never really messed with it. It might be for maybe, actually, who knows what it is. I'm not even gonna guess. Hey, if you know what it is, go ahead and throw a comment down inside the comments below, because I'm actually very curious, and if you know what it is, definitely tell me, because I would love to know. I actually just haven't really gone through the manual, so I'm sure it tells me in there. All right, so on here, we actually have the shutter release button right over here. And you also have a top dial right here. This top dial is going to allow you to change the shutter speed or the aperture or the ISO or like whatever you have assigned to that, because you can actually switch that around inside the settings. So you can actually have this dial for that. They have a back dial over here, and that is also going to be used for changing shutter speed or aperture or ISO or something like that. Now, there isn't a third wheel over here, and I didn't really expect them to have one, and I didn't really research this that much. But I actually use the top dial over here. I use that for shutter speed, and then I use the back dial over here for aperture, and then the little wheel on the back of the camera, the little click wheel, that I actually use for ISO. And that's just how I personally chose to set up my camera, and I'm still not completely sold that that is how I'm going to keep it. But so far, I am kind of liking having 3 distinct different dials for controlling aperture, shutter speed, and the ISO. Because sometimes if I really want to make sure that, let's say I have 1/500th of a second that I'm using for, let's say, dance photography, then I'm gonna make sure that the shutter speed is set to that. And if I want to make sure that I also have a shallow depth of field, so I might set that to maybe, like, let's say an f3.5 or f3.2. Now, at that point, if my exposure is not correct, the only thing I can do, well, there's 2 things. One is I can adjust my lighting, or the second thing I can do is adjust the ISO. And a lot of times I will do a combination of both, depending on what the ambient light is, and also how my lights are set up and things like that. Like, it's all on a case-by-case basis. But obviously with this battery grip, if I'm holding it in the vertical position, I'm not gonna be able to just use that back clicker wheel in order to actually adjust that ISO. So maybe I will end up switching over to holding down, let's say, this little star button, because there's also the star button. I'm gonna go and show this over here. There is a little star button that you can use in order to, I think, allow you to hold that and then also click this top button over here, and then that will basically change it over to the ISO settings instead of the shutter settings. So it's interesting. There's actually more buttons on here than I thought that there would be. Now, there is like a little nubbin over here. So this little nubbin that you can use to, I guess, move the focus points around and stuff like that. And there's the little star or snowflake that I just pointed out before. And then the one next to it is I'm not sure what that one is, but let me show a close-up of that. And then there is also the little magnifying glass. And don't forget that there is also the, I'm trying to get all focused in, the AF on button, which is the most important one. So that way you can hold that AF on button, and then it will lock focus. And then after that, while you're holding it, it's going to keep focus, and then I can just start hitting the shutter release button in order to have it start taking photos. Now, I literally just started pressing that button, and if you notice over here that the button actually has a little piece of plastic over it to help protect it. Now, I'm going to pull that plastic off right now. And because when I just pressed the shutter release button, it felt a little bit spongy to me. I'm not sure if that's because of this little piece of plastic. So I'm going to pull that plastic off. Let's see how the shutter release button feels. Okay, so the shutter release button doesn't necessarily have a good tactile feedback. Like, you know how let me actually pull my camera out right now. Okay, so here's my camera. And with the actual shutter release button over here, I tend to, actually, you know what? This actually feels about the same. I guess I'm used to, like, the Nikon so much for having, like, pressing halfway and having it have, like, a good tactile feedback for when you hit that halfway point. But if I actually compare the actual battery grip, so if I press this guy here, okay, let's press this guy here. You know what? They actually feel about the same. So that's actually good that they're consistent. Now, the one on the battery grip feels a little bit stiffer. Now, I only got this R6 maybe a couple months ago. And so it isn't like it's had, like, 50,000 or 100,000 shutter clicks on it. So I don't feel that the shutter button would have, like, gone from, like, super stiff to, like, really loosened up. But definitely I feel that the shutter release button on the camera feels a little bit looser than the one on the battery grip. Now, I don't mind having a slightly stiffer button. Now, it isn't stiff by any means. It's just barely noticeably stiffer than the one on the actual camera. Now, if I grab my Nikon, don't have a lens on it, but that's okay. So if I basically press this one, there's definitely like when I push it down halfway, I almost feel like it definitely hits something, and then after that, then I can press it all the way down. So it's very easy to tell when you're doing a half press and a full press. So it's kind of an interesting thing when you kind of compare the Nikon versus the Canon camera. Having said that, I always use back button focusing on my cameras. So the half press really doesn't help out much with anything. It's just something that I always kind of notice whenever I'm like shooting, that I kind of always have this halfway down sort of feel. And the Canon doesn't necessarily have that as much as the Nikons do. But since I back button focus anyway, I just use this purely for just pressing for the shutter release. So it doesn't really matter. I must admit, this battery grip is pretty large, and that's not a bad thing. Like, it feels super solid in my hand. Like, I mean, like, this is a beefy grip. This is a beefy grip, and it feels really solid in the hand. Probably actually better than the actual R6. So let's go and pull the R6. You know, let me take my Peak Design strap off. All right, so R6. If I hold onto the grip, it feels solid in my hand, right? But the actual height of the camera is not that big, so it's one of these things where it doesn't feel as solid as I feel like it could if it were a little bit deeper. And you can get these little extensions and things like that, but I always knew I was going to be getting the battery grip, so I never bothered to even research that. But when I'm holding this over here, especially with the 70-200 lens, which is a pretty heavy lens, it's not as heavy as my Nikon 70-200 f2.8, but it is still heavy, and it's very front heavy because the camera is so light. So when the actual grip on the camera is a little bit smaller, it basically makes it so it's a little bit more uncomfortable for me to hold it. Now, this battery grip is much beefier, and because it actually has like a much taller length over here, so if I actually hold it the way that I would hold the actual camera, like this, notice how my pinky goes all the way down, and there's plenty of extra room. So if you have larger hands, then getting a battery grip like this is actually going to be really, really beneficial to you, and you are really going to notice a huge difference. And then notice over here, if I basically hold this like this, granted, my pinky is actually still, I'm going to try to show this at the camera, still actually on the camera, okay? But then if you notice, my palm over here is actually off the camera, and so it's kind of like resting kind of like in this little section of my hand over here. And so it doesn't feel super secure when I'm holding it this way, and I'm actually really kind of like clenching in hard with these 3 fingers in order to actually make sure that I don't drop it or anything like that. This guy over here, you don't have that problem at all. Like, it covers the entire palm. If you notice over here, covers the entire palm. Oh, this way. The entire palm. And that is actually going to make me feel much better about holding the camera. And then on top of that, once this is actually inside my camera, what's going to happen is that's going to actually give me an extra grip over here as well. You know what? Why don't we actually go ahead and try this out? Let's see how easy it is to do. So I just took the battery out of this, and what I'm going to do is I am going to, oh wait, you know what? I need to take off the door to my camera in order to get this to work. So how do I do that? Oh, that's actually really nice. So if you notice, I'm trying to hold this over here. There's like a little button right there. I'm going to try to hold it and hold it this way. there's a button right there. And if you push that to the side, it actually allows you to slip this off super easily. So you don't have to like kind of pry it off. And that's really smart that they have that tiny little button right there. And that button actually moves sideways. And when you move it sideways over here, well, actually you move it this way, you could actually just really easily just unclip it from the camera. I like that. I thought I would have to wrestle that off. That's really cool. All right, let's take off my Peak Design thing over here, and let's go and put this guy in. So just slip it in, and then after that, you just use the thing over here on the bottom in order to screw it in. And there's no actual screw thing over on this side. A lot of times I'm used to having like a large wheel on both this side and on this side, so you can kind of like grab both sides and twist it like this, twist it like that. But you can't do that with this. You can only twist it from one side. So I hope that's not gonna be a problem with it not being on tight enough, but it's probably gonna be on pretty tight. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. All right, so as I said before, so now that I have the battery grip on here, notice how when I put my hand on over here, that my hand goes all the way down to the very, or the grip goes all the way down to my palm. And that actually gives me a lot more, I guess like faith in my grip on the camera. And same thing over here, I can hold it this way, then I can take photos like this as well. And my thumb naturally hits exactly where the AF on button is. It's a great placement. Great placement. They definitely put some good thought into that. All right. So let's go ahead and let me take this off for a second, because I just wanted to talk to you about the grip and how it feels, and how a larger grip actually is very beneficial. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the other features on this camera. On this grip over here. So of course on the bottom, it does have the screw, the 1/4" screw for going on the tripods and things like that. They also seem to have like a little belt clip over here, which is interesting. I like that. And I'm actually wondering if I might just put my Peak Design little pigtail thing, and I might put it directly on there. So that way I don't have to worry about taking up my tripod, port or whatever, on the bottom of the camera, because that's currently what I have to do. So sometimes if I have like some sort of Arca Swiss plate for my tripod, I have to take this guy off in order to put that on my camera, and it's very annoying to do that. And like they have other things you can buy that actually have the Arca Swiss plate and actually have a place to put the little Peak Design pigtails, but never ended up having too much luck with that. So anyway, if you want to change out the batteries or add a battery to this, what you do is there's a little, I'm gonna try to center this up. There's a little flap over here that you just flip down over here, just like that right there. And then you just pull it out, or no, I'm sorry, you have to twist it first. Twist it counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, and pull it out. And now you got your little battery door. Now, I only have 2 total batteries. Now the question is, does this work with only a single battery? And it looks like it might work with just a single battery, because you know what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. I'm gonna probably have to read the instructions on this, because man, I have no idea how this thing actually works. Is it like this? Is it like this? Not sure. Anyway, I'm gonna have to play with this, read the instructions, make sure I figure out exactly how to use this. Now, of course, this is just an unboxing and my first impressions of it. So this is not a how-to or a full review on it. Definitely my first impression. Oh, there's something else I forgot to say. It looks like it also has right over here an on and off switch for your camera, which is interesting because there's also one on the top of the camera. So my question is, what happens if this is off, but my camera but the camera switch actually is set to on, or vice versa? What happens if the camera is set to on and the battery grip is set to off? I don't know. I'm not sure. These are things that I'm gonna have to play with and figure out. And oh, it also looks like it has right over here an indicator of whether it is charged. And I guess it's actually, there's like two LEDs, one on the left and one on the right. One for, I guess, the left battery and one for the right battery. So what I'm actually really hoping the way that it works is that it will drain one battery completely before it even taps into that second battery. That'd be really cool, because if it drains both batteries at the same time and you only have two batteries, or let's say three batteries, then you're basically stuck in a position where you drain two batteries and then you want to continue shooting, but then you only have one battery left. And if this battery grip, it needs to have two batteries, if it does, I don't know if it does, then you're kind of stuck at that point. But if it drains them one at a time, then once the first battery basically gets drained, you could always pop that out, put it into the charger, take your spare battery, put it inside the battery grip, and then you can keep on shooting. And then when that second battery dies, then you can basically replace that with the one that you've been charging for the last couple hours. So anyway, it's actually kind of cool that they actually have the two indicators right there. I like that a lot. So final impressions. This over here, it is a $350 battery grip. It's not cheap. However, if you shoot a lot of portraits, you're probably doing half landscape portraits and half like what they actually call portrait orientation, where it's taller than it is wide. And if you're doing about half in portrait orientation and half in landscape orientation, you're gonna want to definitely get some sort of battery grip. And the reason why, let me go ahead and pop this guy back on here for a second. So, all right, got it on here nice and tight. Now, if you were to basically start taking photos, right? And if I were to take a photo, and if I were to not have a battery grip, I have to hold it like this in order to be in the portrait orientation. It's not nearly as stable, so your shots might come out slightly blurry, or you might have to kick up your shutter speed in order to compensate for that. I'm not saying that for sure, because especially with the new in-body stabilization as well as the stabilization on the lenses, you may not need to, but it does make it less stable to be able to hold your camera this way. If you're doing a ton of portrait shots like this, your arm is gonna get tired. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Whereas when you have the battery grip on here, you can basically tuck your elbows into your body, and then you can basically put this up against your face over here, and now you can shoot a lot longer because you're not having to have your arm up just like this the whole time. So for portrait shooting, this is a much better way to shoot because it's much more stable and you can actually get a lot sharper images. So if you do a lot of portrait shooting, I suggest you definitely get the battery grip, because not only will it will make a big difference in the way it feels when you're doing portrait shoots, but it will also probably improve the quality of some of your portraits. On top of that, it allows you to have double the battery life, which is very, very nice. So you don't have to worry about swapping out batteries if you just have a session that maybe goes into, let's say, 400 different shots before you need to change a battery. Because I'm not exactly sure how many shots these Canon batteries are actually rated for. I want to say it's around like 350 or 400. But if you're barely basically bleeding over into that second battery, you don't have to worry about that with the battery grip because you got two batteries inside there. So that is definitely another big benefit of it. So I love it. I love it that they actually have a good battery grip that has pretty much all the functionality minus the click wheel on there to be able to do whatever you need to do when you are in the vertical orientation. So that's really, really cool compared to Nikon that only has literally a battery grip that has 0 buttons on it. It just allows you to extend the battery life of your Nikon Z, or Z6 or Z7, should I say. Now, I think they came out with a new one for their new Z cameras that actually does have buttons and things like that on there, but I mean, they really should have done that in the first place. I don't know why they didn't. So anyway, final impressions is that it's a very, very good battery grip. I definitely like it a lot. I'm really excited to actually try it out in the field. Unfortunately, I think I just had my last session of the year, and because right now it is December, and there's not a lot of people wanting to do outdoor portrait shoots right now for some reason. Maybe because it's gonna be 20 degrees tomorrow, who knows? But anyway, I'm excited to give this a shot. I'm gonna be using this inside my current studio over here. Probably try to drive the kids down here and get some shots with them. But I will let you know what I think of it and my final impressions of it, like after I use it for a little bit. And I'll let you know all my gripes and my true thoughts on it, because this is not a paid sponsorship or anything like that. So I can tell you exactly what I think. So if you have any questions about this, definitely feel free to leave me questions down in the comments below. I will try to get back to you with any answers that I can come up with. And don't forget to like and subscribe. As I said before, it really helps out this channel a lot. So if you like these videos and the sort of thoughts that I always have on various products, then hey, you're gonna know whenever I release new videos. So until next time, take care.